I'm making spokes for a captain's wheel. I'm fixing to turn this on the lathe. So what I've got, I'm gonna make a storyboard. I've designed, this is gonna be pommels, that's gonna be pommels. If you don't know what a pommel is, it's remain square. So when you remain square, you probably seen them on table legs and that kind of thing. I got an example here. This right here, that's a pommel. That's where the skirts will mount to, only if it was a table. But I'm gonna have two. This is where the wheels are going, and this is at the bottom. So, but in between is where I'm gonna do the beads and coves. Say we're gonna have a bead there coming from the pommel, and this the OG, you know, then one up here, then one here, and this is where the handle's gonna be, where you hold it. On a captain's wheel, what sticks out above that outer circle is the handles. That's what this is gonna be. But being so I've got 6 of them to make, I'm gonna make a storyboard. Here, I'm gonna have a 1/2 inch, 1 3/4. I'm gonna turn it down, and then the hub, I'm gonna drill a hole 1 3/4, and that'd be the mortise. So this will be the tenon. And I made this stick right here. So what I'm gonna do is take this stick, I'm gonna transfer everything to it. When you're on the lathe, you turn this first, you have a place to hang this on it. Then you come through here and make your marks, and that way it's hitting the same place every time. Because even if this is off a little bit, or that's a little long or something like that, this mark right here is where this is going to be measured from. That way they'll all be alike. So what I'm going to do here, we'll line this thing up to that mark, and then the pommel will be right here, and then we're going to mark the peaks and valleys. For instance, this valley, and that peak. We'll have a measurement on each of the peaks and valleys. That way you can set a caliper. You can set a caliper, and as you turn it, you get it the right size. And believe it or not, this right here with the storyboard, you'll be surprised how well you can get 2 items that look just alike. I've got an example of a storyboard that I made right here. So I've got the peaks and valleys where I want the measurements, and that's where I hang the pencil. When I'm turning, I got a groover cut where that pencil hit there every time. That'd be the valley. I got a pencil, and it's 5/8 diameter. Here's the peak, 7/8, and so on. And you'll be surprised how well you can go through this thing, and you can make 2 items look alike. Now you can throw a set of micrometers on it and find out they're not, but to look at them, they'll look the same to you. So what we're going to do, that's the pommel, and that right there will be the end of the valleys, and then the peak be right in the middle. And every one of these is going to have a little slit in it where I can put my pencil leg, and it'll register in there every time. The low point right here, and then there's the peak, valley, peak, valley, pommel. And I'll probably do that right here, and then just help you. If I had it drawn out where I could paste a piece of paper to it. And so we're designing. So what we're going to do, the valley is right there, the peak is right there. We'll come up with a dimension once we cut this and we get it looking right. then we'll come up with a dimension, and I'll write the dimensions right here, and that way every one of them will be the same. So let's go on over to lathe, and we'll get something started. However, something's happened. I've had this thing for a long time. I've had it before I got this lathe. I had a little small lathe. But that thing got stuck, and it's a drive center that goes on your lathe. And this point is supposed to come out past it. So you got your point where this arrestor right in that point, but it's stuck all the way down, and I whooped on it. I took it out and I've oiled it, and I guess it's permanently seized up in there. They're not, I think they're $16. So that it ain't catastrophic, but I had to order one. So we can get our storyboard like I want it, get our notches cut. And the thing about it is, I gotta have this. It's supposed to be here today, supposed to, but you know how that goes. So whenever I get that and we go to the lathe, I'll go ahead and get this thing turned. I'll show that to you a little bit. Like we can get this first section right here, and you see what I'm talking about. Then the rest of it is rinse and repeat. But the lathe is one thing that you gotta kind of need to stay in practice, because it's all about the technique of the riding the bevel and that kind of thing. So I normally make an extra one. Didn't have enough stuff or forgot, or anyway, I got the exact amount. So you know what that means. That means I'm gonna screw the first one up. I'm gonna be one short. But today we're looking at storyboards. I'm gonna sketch this off, and you gotta have a restering point, and you'll be surprised. I made a bunch of candle holders, and they were all just alike to look at them, but I could see the little small differences in them. But sitting over on a table, they look just alike. So these 6 spokes, they need to resemble one another pretty good. But they will. They're turning out, you know, they'll look alike. But the way you do that, you can get a duplicator. A duplicator, which are pretty expensive. And that is one thing, ain't no sense getting it unless you get a good one, because you just be spinning your wheels. But a duplicator, you got this one, it's guiding the tool. You're running down one that's already been done. For instance, if you wanted to turn this exact, you just run that point right down through here, and it's sitting over here, and it'll be just like it. But no more than I do. If I had a job making these candle holders, and I'm gonna bench out 1,000 of them, and you know, it might be worth it, but if I was gonna batch out 1,000 of them, I'd go back to work. So I like woodworking like this. I got a little project they got to play, and I'm gonna make this for them. Right now it's leftover wood. So that's the kind of stuff I like to do. You know, make heirloom, that kind of thing. Kind of like in hidden wooden hinges boxes, you know, and dovetails, and something that takes a while to make, something you can be proud of. But batching out a bunch of stuff. I did 10 boxes for decorative for a banquet. I hated it. My daughter come in and she helped me. We were on one, I was on one belt sander, she's on the other, and we were making these handles. I mean, that helped a ton. But need that to come in. When it comes in, we'll come back and we'll turn this on lathe. Well, according to the video that you're seeing, it's just a moment. You know, the last thing we was waiting on this to come in. It came in, but that's 2.5 days ago. I have been working on servers. I had 2 websites and a cloud server go down. Sometimes that is some time-consuming stuff. But anyway, I'm I lack a little bit. I'm waiting for a client to make his mind up, but I'm back here trying to, this clears my head, if you know what I mean. So I was going to show y'all what I've been waiting on and the difference. I got the old one right here. So the old one, to show you, well, let's just start with the new one. That way you can see where the problem is here. Do you see how the point sticks out? So what happens, the point comes in and you know, you put your little divots. Remember when we marked this off, you take your awl and make a little point right there where you know you're right in the middle. Well, with the old one, with it stuck in, there was no way to do that. If you take that screw out, well, you got to hold against it, take that screw out when it works, and this will come out and there's a spring behind it. The reason it does that is some people take they put this on and take it off to check it for different stuff without ever turning the lathe off. So this is what I was waiting on, and then see if you look right here, spring action. So when you get it and you take it off and that thing's still running, these teeth releases it and allows you to take it off. I don't do that very much, but I like these because the thing about it is the one that comes with the lathe, very aggressive. This one don't do that, but it's very aggressive when you cut slots, and for pine, a lot of times it won't stand up to it, where this right here, it holds it and it's a lot more forgiving. If you had hardwood or big piece, this right here would work. So I've used these for years. I like them. So let's go ahead and go on over to the lathe and I'll show you how we do this. So what we got going on is we're going to be a spoke right here. This drive center goes here, life center's on this end. Now you remember we put our little divots right here. Okay, so we put it in that point. There it went. It goes in that point. Lock her down. So what we have is a storyboard, like we had talked about. But the way this thing is set up, we got a 1/2 inch piece to cut in here, and then we'll be able to hook it. So what we're going to do, we're going to run that in and make a 1/2 inch, double check it, it's right on it. But if you remember, this is where we're going to put the tenon. So it's 1 3/4 on the tenon. And the way we find that is with a pair of calipers. So I need to set this, that's 1 1/2. There's the 1 3/4 right there. So we've got the caliper set. So we'll put that right there. So with the caliper set, we are going to mark this off. This has got to be a smooth cut, if you know what I mean. Because this is what's going to have to fit against the hub. So what I'm going to do is kind of, you know, pine is bad to, well, there are a lot of woods that's bad to chip out. But in this situation, so I'm going to take a knife, cut me a line here, and give it the best opportunity that it will behave itself as I'm cutting this. Once you get a knife cut, your blade fall in there and you can tell you're in the right place. So let's hope that's going to be enough keep that from splintering out. So what I'm going to do now is I'll probably start with a skew and see if I can't mark these points where it'll help them that much more from tearing out. So that's what this is. Then when I get down to it, this is going to tell us where to go. So let's go ahead and mark this out right here. Okay. Okay. Okay, here we go. So our storyboard, the way I've designed it was to hang over this right here. That way it's hooked and you can concentrate on what you're doing up here. So this is going to be a pommel. So there's a pommel right here. Okay, this is pommel. This is the other side. What we can do, you see I got a bead there, a cove. There's a long bead, long cove, and right here. So I got on each side of that, and plus I got it here, and that is going to be the handle. So what I want to do first, we'll go ahead and rough and gouge and get this down, and I'll show you how I do this right here. And everything else, if you look at it, it's the same way, except the handle's a little longer, but it'd be kind of like doing that. So I can show you what I do right here, then the rest of it would be just rinse and repeat, if you know what I mean. See how it works right there? See, there's the top of your cove. That's, pommel. Bottom of it, see, it needs to go down a little bit more. And then it'll take care of that. So there's the bottom right there. All right, we're going to have the highest point here. Bottom of that one, 1.5 inches. And then you're connecting the dots once you get that. So we're going to go 1.5 inches. So I need to set my calipers 1.5 inches right there. So what I want to do is take this. Let's get that all the way around. We'll go ahead and turn that down to 1.5 inches. So now what we do, we just connect the dot right there. Okay. See how it's starting to take shape now? That's got it roughed in. Oh, yeah, now we just need to do some sanding. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed it. That is the way you can use a storyboard to get items to look the same. I had a bunch of candle holders, uh, but hope y'all enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. I enjoy turning on the lathe. That is something that you need to do a lot because there's a technique to it. You need to stay in practice. Well, it's like anything else, sawing or anything else, but what I have found on the lathe, you really need to stay with it. When I did it a lot, when I was working with the lathe a lot, it's easier to do with hardwood to come off the lathe without ever using sandpaper. But especially with pine, it's going to take some sandpaper, so which I got to sand this. So hope you learned something. Thank you for being here with me, and I'll catch you on the next one.